Well, hello everyone. It's Jeff Richards here, and who else is here?
Hi, this is
your
Elizabeth
clue.
Pinner.
We've got Elizabeth as well. Elizabeth is, I should actually say, Elizabeth is my boss, aren't you?
Yes, but I'm also the boss of Sage CRM from a dev and support point of view.
Yes, and we're here to explain a little bit about the changes that are taking place within the software, specifically technically around ActiveX and ActiveX deprecation. So I wonder, what can we say about this now?
Sorry, are you handing over to media?
Yes, I was. I was going to chip in and say, what have we got to do?
So, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to flick over to your first slide, Jeff?
Yes, sure. So we what have we done? We've got what have we done, what's next, and what is still to do. And so this is a big question about what have we done in 2020.
Can I chip in there with a why rather than just a what? Because I just want to do a high-level explanation of the reasons why we are retiring ActiveX. They're really two. One of them is a push from Internet Explorer and therefore ActiveX nearing the end of their support, end of life really, from Microsoft. So we need to become independent of ActiveX before that support ends. But there's also a very strong pull from Chrome, especially other browsers as well, but primarily Chrome. It's the browser of choice for about 2/3 of all desktop users. So there are people who want to use Chrome rather than IE, but have been tied to IE because CRM depended on it for certain features. ActiveX is really quite old now. It was first introduced about 24 years ago, so it's 20th century stuff. And Microsoft still supports ActiveX, but they only support it with Internet Explorer 11. It's not supported on the default Microsoft browser, which is Edge. And when Microsoft stops supporting Windows 10, they will also stop supporting IE 11 and therefore stop supporting ActiveX. There is no date for this end of support yet, but it's fairly imminent. It's probably within the next 2 years. So we want to be independent of ActiveX and of IE before that happens. So there are no issues around that end of support. Sage CRM is also a fairly old product. It's also 20th century, but it has evolved since it was first designed really around Internet Explorer, but it's become more browser independent. And our aim is to modify or replace all the features that currently rely on IE and ActiveX, so that CRM is really browser agnostic. That's partly to avoid any issues when the support stops, but also because we want our customers to be free to choose whatever browser they prefer. Internet Explorer has a really tiny market share. It's about 3.5%, whereas it's over 67% for Google Chrome. So as our users move towards the browser of choice, we want CRM to be able to enable them to use almost all the functionality that they're used to. So it's not possible for us to replace everything, but we are slowly modifying CRM to become independent of ActiveX, and that's we started in a big way with 2020 R1 and the Outlook plugin. So Jeff, do you want to explain more about that?
Yes, certainly. And I see that there's a question that's come in as already by Matthew asking about the send using Outlook. We'll touch on that a little bit towards the end of the presentation. We started the journey. We started in 2020 R1 with a lot of the ActiveX dependency removed. Actually, we can probably say we went back and started this journey earlier on when we implemented server-side merge to get rid of the dependency to carry out ActiveX merge, use of ActiveX within client-side merging of documents. So we push on to try and get the server to do as much as possible. So there's a single point of contact and a single point of integration rather than multiple points of integration. But the 2020 R1, we saw ActiveX, the ActiveX dependency removed from the from two areas, which in the Outlook plugin and also within the document drop to allow any browser to be used for those purposes. And we can see here that whatever browser you're using, you should be able to use the document drop feature, and we should be able to also, secondly, be able to download the plugin, whatever browser that you're using. Previously, downloading the Outlook integration had to be done in the context of Internet Explorer. Now, the download of the plugin remains the same. The plugin remains the same. It's the download process that has changed, and the installation process has changed, because you now need to install this with a little bit more of a process involving certification on the server, so that you can download the plugin in a trusted environment. You then have to make sure that the HCM server is added to the trusted sites, and you've got a personal certificate installed on the client machine, and then you can go ahead and carry out the installation of that plugin. We've written about this. We've got blog articles and guides that talk you through the process, and I think there's even a video up on the YouTube channel to show how that's done as well. So we've got a lot that guides you through that process of installing the Outlook client, whatever browser that you're using. So we're in the state of, this is where we are within the current release, which is 2020 R1. Depending on where you are around the world, it may not actually be in market, but 2020 R1 is the release that we've put out to the operating companies. But we're just on the doorstep of thinking about 2020 R2 onwards. And there was a message that came out with 2020 R1, which indicated that our plans were that with CTI, we would deprecate the CTI feature. Now, there's some internal logic about that in terms of the usage and the usage versus the difficulty of maintaining something that dependent on technology that was becoming more and more obviously out of date and trickier to work with. The question of deprecation, though, if I put this slide up and say that message, I think we've made the decision now, haven't we, Elizabeth, that we are going to be delaying the deprecation of the CTI plugin, and
yes.
so until 2021.
Yes.
And the reason largely about this, we got talking to, and we've been talking with development partners. We've been talking to a range of different things, and I think there's also a session in this conference actually about an alternative CTI integration. But we've been talking about the challenge of integration and what features that are essential with development partners in Germany, in India, in the UK, and we'd welcome conversations really with anyone and everyone. But in terms of the existing CTI integration, we've got a set of features that are contained within it. So we've got anything that comes in from a third-party perspective, or any replacement that we may consider needs to be equivalent, not exactly the same, but it has a broad set of equivalencies. The most used feature, though, is the fast dial out rather than the inbound CTI. So we've got So really, the most dominant feature is being able to dial out. And if we are going to be removing things from anywhere, we actually have to go through the process of quite a lot of work to gracefully deprecate this. So if we're going to stop doing something, we have to decide exactly what it is that we're going to stop, and we then have to excise bits of the application. So there's a little bit of refactoring that will have to be done when we do this. And in terms of the features to be able to do the most important thing, which is to drive out calls, we're looking around our existing behavior and how we behave, for example, as more and more usage is through the mobile interface, how we behave. So for example, in the mobile themes, we know this if you're using a mobile device, then telephone numbers, for example, are automatically detected within the theme and they're marked as tells, using the HTML tag tell to use that as a pseudo URL handler, and then it can be picked up and used by whatever is the local device that is associated with that handler or protocol. Just like HTTP is a protocol, just like mail-to is a protocol, you can have the tell as in the browser as well. So we've got different behaviors that we can implement, and so this is really, so I'm just making sure that yes, the question is, because CTI, we've made the decision to remove our dependency on ActiveX, we're looking at what needs to be kept in the software to make it as graceful as possible so that other partners, other devices still will operate. And as I said, that there's a presentation on an alternative CTI mechanism in place. Now, Elizabeth, do you think you want to add anything more to that?
I think that for those people who are still dependent on CTI, the news is good in that it won't be removed with no replacement, and it won't be removed imminently. We will take our time to find a workable alternative for people who actually rely on CTI, so that when we remove it from the core CRM product, there is a replacement based on our partners' development that we can offer to customers.
Okay, I think that's the case. You want to make sure that we give everybody the sufficient time and everyone who's going to be able to offer the alternatives to the base CTI that we have, the capabilities that we need. Now, if we step over into this, what's probably remaining after we've taken away and handled the ActiveX, removed the ActiveX dependency as far as the Outlook plugin is concerned, document drop is concerned, and the CTI is concerned, that really only leaves us with a particular feature that is within within a window that you would see here if you were sending an email from within the product. So here, imagine I'm using here Internet Explorer, and I want to be able to type this and then maybe attach an attachment to this. I've used a template, I fill in the details, and then I don't want to actually send it using the internal CRM client. I want to send using Outlook. And if I clicked on the send using Outlook, here the ActiveX plugin would kick in, and it would do the communication with Outlook to be able to transfer the data, including the attachments, to that Outlook plugin. There is no equivalent technology for this, is there, Elizabeth?
No, we don't have a replacement for this. So we will continue to support this as long as we continue to support IE 11. But when we lose IE 11, we will lose this functionality. We don't have a replacement for it, unfortunately.
Okay. That just about wraps up, I think, the state of play. I mean, this is the give you an insight into what our thinking process was within the development, within support, where we are within the product. So I do hope that these 15 minutes gave you that insight. I think I've answered everyone's questions that are there. So thank you very much for attending. I look forward to seeing people in the remaining sessions. Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.